Hey, it's Soul, and welcome to Warcraft Weekly, the show that's going to talk ever so slightly slower. Let's get right to the news, starting with a bit of confusion on my part. A new book that I thought was out, and it's actually not. Exploring Azeroth Kalimdor has had its release date pushed back yet again to January 25th, 2022. Delays have plagued not just the Warcraft franchise and not just the book industry, but pretty much everywhere, although this time around I don't think the Blizzard publishing team can use that card, at least not entirely. There's a fair chance that a new edition is being vetted for production to be released next month. In this book's earlier delay, I pointed out that no one's received copies, and I found that very strange. This time around though, apparently people do have copies, and the foot-and-mouth reviews have not been kind at all. There have been numerous reports of errors, including confusion between the Well of Eternity and the Dark Portal. So like the Well, right, it's like super deep, right? It's super deep and dark, right? And then when you're in it, like when you jump in it or when you walk through it, the pool or the well, it's like eternity, right? But at the same time, you're going into something else. It's like you're walking through a portal. There's also kind of a switcheroo where someone who definitely should be Gallywix is apparently not Gallywix. But that's not all. An article from Wowhead has taken pieces from the book that depict Zekhan, the friendly neighborhood zappy boy, to look like some sort of bigoted and unintelligent jerk. It's a far cry from the up-and-coming star in the Shadows Rising book. Apparently, he was illiterate before learning from Lorthamar Therin. He was a shaman, but I guess he didn't know what erosion was, and he seems to really loathe the goblins. Sean Copeland, who authored this book, has been put on blast on forums and social media. Even his wife tried to back him up and has since set her Twitter to private. But I've got to cherry pick on this cherry pick and ask just a few questions. Does one necessarily have to learn how to read in order to become a shaman? I think that's kind of a legitimate question. Like, if Zekhan was a mage, then I'd have a different tone. Magic in the World of Warcraft universe does seem to call for some reading comprehension. In fact, this makes me even more curious about how the instruction of shamanism actually works. Off the top of my head, I don't recall Drekthar or whoever it was burying Thrall under a mountain of shaman books written by Professor Ragnaros. Although Thrall does know how to read, I guess he gets away with that one. There's even more to consider, like the difference in education structure between these troll clans, like the Darkspear to the Forest Trolls to the Zandalari. I'm guessing they all have a very different curriculum, if any at all. Which gets to what my critique of this book is likely to be once I get my hands on it. It's probably not going to cover enough of the finer details, which is the point of the books. The other example is Zekhan's distaste for the goblins. Like, does this come off as prejudiced? Maybe. We can't say it doesn't come from nowhere though. Like, we can't dismiss how trolls were treated under Garrosh Hellscream, or ignore the fact that the goblins were quick to choose a side back then. Maybe there was some specific incident involving Zekhan and a goblin. Again, that's why I want this book, so I can learn more, or to give it a thorough thrashing. And I want your take too. Like, is this one of those cases of bad writing or not enough writing? Share your thoughts in a comment below. A bunch of Blizzard stuff is on sale, including WoW things. Wow! Shadowlands is half off. TBC Classic super unethical paid upgrades are 30% off. The same goes for a bunch of pets and mounts and character transfers, and even race and faction changes. Get them now before they stop mattering when they lift the faction divide. Yeah, let a person hope, okay? Also introduced is a new pet, Blinky, and it's basically what happens when a Murloc and a Moth hook up. Fade Dragon, you say? Yeah, okay, keep telling yourself that, folks. A Murloc and a Moth don't be fooled, and no, you are not the father. This pet's not on discount. It's going for about half a WoW token, but it is included in a bundle titled The Dragon Pack, which features dragons, real dragons, or maybe one huge Murloc. Anyway, it's the usual deal here where you get a prorated purchase depending on what pets and mounts you already own. Otherwise, it's given a pretty hefty discount. As for the pet itself, personal take, it's cool, but I'm going to give this one a pass. I already have plenty of Murloc pets. This week, a very welcome hotfix hit live servers. A new item called the Incense of Infinity is available from that one vendor in Orbo's who sells all of those 915 perks. The incense is unlocked when one character reaches Renown 80. It costs 500 gold, and when used, it'll grant you all of the conduits available for your class, and it brings them up to an item level of 200, which is freaking fantastic. It also highlights the relative weakness of conduits in Shadowlands in the first place. Remember in the beta when conduits were going to be items that had to be replaced through continuous farming of content? Since then, the feature's been met with mixed reactions, with top players leading the charge against the notion of having to switch conduits on a regular basis, and many others dogging the journey to obtain higher level conduits. The incense has given alts the start that they've sorely needed. Now, maybe the item level isn't high enough. I'm at least happy though that we get starting conduits at all, right at max level. I also can't wait to move on from conduits once this is all over, but now I want your take on something. At max level, okay, we can use this incense. This is easy to use, it's a very blunt boost to get us up to speed. But should the same apply to other things like gear? Or is that a step too far? Does this encroach on other catch-ups? And also, very important, the crafting economy? A new 9.2 build dropped this week. In fact, it'll be the last build until the new year, according to a blue post. It's full of spoilers that I'm not going to talk about, and it includes a troubling change to how flying will be unlocked in the zone. In so few words, and based on our latest findings, it's going to feel grindier to work towards, and it's going to feel longer thanks to the many timers in the Cypher Research Console. That's where we're at right now, but otherwise, here's a glimpse of what is testable at the moment. We've got 7 of the 8 chapters of the 9.2 campaign. We've got numerous side quests and world quests and daily quests. We've got the Cypher Research Console and many of the traits. We've got the Jailer's Gauntlet and the higher layers in Torghast. And let's have a short list of what is not testable yet. Most of the treasures and hidden stuff in Zereth Mortis has placeholder items in them. The Quartermaster isn't activated yet. The weekly quest, that is the reward from the weekly quest, is currently nothing. The world boss has no loot table, neither does the SFO raid. And I haven't unlocked the protoform synthesis feature, however I have heard reports from others who have unlocked it that it's not working at the moment. Cypher gear, which works similarly to Korthia gear, that hasn't dropped yet either. And Cosmic Flux, the material that will let you convert non-tier pieces into tier, that's yet to be seen too. All in all, this patch is so far shaping up kind of slowly, but my main thing is that it's shaping up to be 2 separate things for 2 separate kinds of players. If we compare 9.2 to 8.3 back then, well, we saw a WoW team then that did its best to tie features and systems together in a way to get everyone to participate in like everything, encouraging or maybe forcing players to go outside their wheelhouse for some powerful item. Some others did like that, but there were others who felt like there were too many powerful things in that patch and too few souvenirs to follow us forward. Now, there were a few things, you had your transmog sets, there was a cool backpack, and there was a title, but all of those things were tied into needing skill and strength to push forward before it went away. 9.2 so far is quite the turnaround. Here we have entirely separate paths and features that have a limited shared relationship. Looking at the big picture, raiders, PvPers, and dungeon folk can do what they keep doing, and they can look to Zereth Mortis for other activities if it catches their interest. Meanwhile, solo players not interested in group content kind of have a zone made for them if you think about it. The Jailer's Gauntlet in Torghast is almost entirely decoupled from player power. Now, I'm not saying that this complete package is better. You bet that there are people out there who couldn't care less for the new zone and would rather see that work be put towards a crazier raid or a battleground or new dungeons, like anything that isn't for the filthy casual. But it's different, just like the Covenant Sanctum. Think of these features as similar to the Argent Tournament, whether you like it or not. It's a bunch of rewards, they're easy to get, it just takes a while to farm for. Features that are very simple and straightforward in practice, but when trying to talk about it, it's almost impossible to articulate in words without overwhelming the listeners like you and causing unwanted reactions. My question for you viewers, knowing that Zereth Mortis is almost entirely optional, are you going to be part of the crowd grinding away day one? Are you going to wait for the kinks to get ironed out, or for there to be like some sort of catch-up if it ever comes? Or will you just ignore it entirely because what you get isn't interesting, or you'd rather just raid log? And now let's talk about the Warcraft Community Council. We're a few weeks in, and I'm happy to report that, contrary to my earlier predictions, the Blues are talking. Ho, it's good to be wrong. A few days ago, several developers chimed in with their hellos, introducing and sharing a few things about themselves. I like seeing small efforts to reach out and remind us that, oh yeah, there's humans on the other side of the game, right? Another plus, they're chiming in on threads.
3 of them, in fact.
One on announcing raid tests implies that the team is going to put more consideration into announcing raid testing on the PTR further in advance with respect to letting teams prepare for a meetup. Another post about PvP gearing talks about plans to increase honor gains to narrow the divide between non-upgraded and upgraded players in PvP gear. The last is a favorite of mine because it talks about the WoW team's design philosophy with regards to buffs and toxicity in groups. The original post brings up the subject that single target external cooldowns like power infusion can be kind of toxic. The developer response asserts that the team puts most of their emphasis on having just cool class abilities that help bosses get murdered, but it doesn't factor in community social structures like damage meters and Warcraft logs. Quoting the post, "So far we have not constrained our designs to require meter/ranking clarity and fairness, where doing so would compromise other values." In other words, having a few abilities like this, I guess, is interesting, and they're less worried about it affecting your parse because top score is a thing that the community owns, making the toxicity behind that need a community solve. What if there was a solution? Like, what if they just made power infusion become a group-wide bloodlust for priests? I mean, yeah, it might be interesting, but then it would make the bloodlust club get that much more crowded. In fact, in a way, it takes the ability out of the equation for multiple classes when you have these multiple characters in the group. So maybe it's not as interesting, but the takeaway was that they're sharing their design philosophies for us to dissect and critique, and I can't help but nerd out over that sort of stuff. The council, for its bumpy start, has been met with even more rough patches though. Most recently, at least one council member was banned from the forums for posting racist material, supposedly in other WoW forums. Even while on the way out, they were trying to play it off as if it was a social experiment, sort of evidenced by this person making their own Discord channel to petition non-council members to brigade or favorite their posts. And well, it was just chaos, okay? There's no need for screenshots, there's not going to be any naming names. Small people get small coverage, right? Right. Hey, a few takeaways though. There's a limit to the amount of vetting that can be done to avoid these kinds of people. This is only so serious. There's no background checks to be done beyond probably social media posts that the team can find. A bad actor who's highly motivated is gonna find their way in. Like, nothing would have stopped me from just totally lying through my teeth in the application, not revealing that I'm a content creator. I could have used fake emails that don't reveal my true identity and saying all the right things that make me seem unique and desirable, and then, surprise, let's talk about how much I hate the non-robots. And unfortunately, it seems like some people are taking advantage of that, undermining the intentions of the council forum out of, well, I guess, pure malice, and that's hella messed up. But that's also the reality of things. All of that said, the Warcraft social media team has just got to do better and really be on top of stuff like this. Reporting from folks like us, sure, that helps, but behavior like this could have been stamped out much, much sooner. This is just a forum, but it's one with a certain kind of visibility and prestige. With that should come a sense of responsibility in part of its members and vigilance in part of its moderators. Right now, it's just not there. Like I said the other week, right now, this forum, it looks no better than a general discussion forum with the greatest hits in WoW discourse, but now with a sprinkling of blue posts to add some color. This forum is a double-edged sword. On one side, it's an opportunity to build a relationship with the community. It's public-facing, it makes it a beacon to look for first for responses and discussion from WoW developers. We're seeing the not-so-great side of it now, a forum that's out of control. Like, it's not literally on fire, and bad actors will pop up every now and then that have to be culled very quickly. By out of control, I mean the forum lacks direction. It needs a leader, preferably on the Blizzard side, who can help guide conversations and invite its very diverse council members for discussion. And one of these threads is a discussion over Master Looter. Yeah, it's a hot topic. There's a few thousand views on it, but only 5 people are talking in it. It's doing about as well as a video from an okay YouTuber. Here's what a moderator could do. They could chime in with a blue post saying that, hey, Master Looter is a regular internal topic with the team. The blue post then invites other developers to share their sides of this conversation and invites council members to share their experiences with it. Not what they hear or read about, but their own. And that's it. That's the nirvana that I'm seeking. Just conversations and sharing ideas that we on the outside can gush and rage over. It sounds really easy to do, and I'm sure it's not, but please, Blizzard, dudes, do that. And that's the show. So, the Mage Tower is hard, okay? I've been working at the Holy Paladin Challenge off and on throughout the week. I've learned, I picked up some gear and enchants, but I'm not even close to being optimized. But I have been slowly picking up more and more of it because otherwise I suck at it. This is my Mage Tower blog, by the way, deal with it. I think after the few rounds of nerfs and the rebalancing of things, the chatter over the Mage Tower has dwindled, or literally everyone's quit. Never mind. But thinking back to the past, I know this is going to sound unpopular, but I like this version way more than the original Legion version because back then I two-shot it. Yeah, I did this challenge before, and I don't remember it. I do remember that I had a full battery of legendaries and Taurus gear. I had the works, I admit. But at the time, it just didn't feel quite as fulfilling to beat it. It felt more like checking a box than completing the challenge, so it just wasn't memorable. This, however, this is punishing. I'm progressing, I'm struggling. I don't think I'd like it any other way except for the part where I actually complete it. So to you folks out there, I want to hear more of your Mage Tower stories. Did you have any close wins, close losses? There's still 2 weeks of Mage Tower left, so if you're on holiday break, maybe you can make a plan out of it. Let's start closing out though. I want to give a big thanks to our subscribers over on Twitch and to our valued patrons, including Loretta and Two Dumbs. Your parents must totally love you. Next week is the last weekly of the year. There's nothing special planned. Seriously, I just want 2020 Part 2 to be over. I can't wait till next year. Come on, 2020 Part 3. There's nothing wrong. Nothing bad ever happens in a trilogy, right? Don't forget to press the likey button to support the channel, subscribe for more content, consider becoming a patron so I can slather your name across the screen, and with all that said, thanks again. Y'all have been great, and I hope to see you next time. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.